I'd like to spend a few minutes and talk about embedding Kumu maps in other contexts. The reason that one does an embedding is that you want to take some information and display it to a user without having them break the context that they're in at the moment, so that rather than have to actually go to another tab on a browser or to another window, you allow them to see what you're interested in showing them in the same context that they're already in, so it appears to be much more continuous. Now, what we talked about earlier in with regard to lightboxes, lightboxes are essentially a type of embedding where what you want to show to the user simply appears in a window on top of what they're already looking at. So they don't completely lose the context, because when they close the lightbox, they're still where they were. Though with embedding, what you do is you come here, this little less than / greater than pops open this embed window, and you then have the option of saying, I want to include the overview in the sidebar. That's that profile panel with regard to the map itself. And this says whether or not you want to include the position and scale of the current model in the embed. And when you finally pick the options that you want and select create, it creates for you a set of embed code that looks like this. And you can then go ahead and copy that embed code and paste it in something else, such as a blog or a wiki page or a web page. Pasting into a wiki page requires that you actually be able to embed HTML in a wiki page. It's a little bit more demanding than actually just posting the iframe embed code into a regular web page. Though here is an example of the Insight Maker User's Guide right here, which is embedded in the systemswiki.org website. So there's a picture and some text, and then here is the Insight Maker User's Guide, which is fully actionable within this window. And if you select things, you can look at the different elements, or you can it works as though you were actually in Kumu, and you are actually in Kumu. You're just in Kumu in a window, in a construct that's embedded in this other environment. Though you might also want to provide an option, which I've done here, to allow, if someone is accessing this particular embed and they want to view it in a full window, this is just an option that I provided, just so that they could open this Kumu map in a window by itself directly in Kumu, as opposed to being embedded. And that's an option that you should think about as to whether or not you want to do that. You can also take this portion of the embed code, which is just the URL, and you can send that to someone else so that they essentially have an embed, though it's embedded right in the browser window that they're looking at. Now, I admit that I pulled a fast one on you here, and that this embed code that I created was created with this particular map and a different perspective. And if you look at that perspective, it's got a new piece down here that says focus basic out 0. What it says is select all of the elements where the type is basic and only show those elements, not 1 or 2 levels removed from them. Now the links show up because the links are connected to the individual elements, and every single one of the elements that you see has a has a type of basic, and I'll talk about settings in the next video probably. Though the idea was to point out that you can take this particular piece right here of the embed code and access it directly, and what it's saying is that it's accessing the map Kumu with the basic perspective applied to that content.